permission,
anywhere.
thank you, Catherine. With your permission, then I'm going to substitute Michelle in there for a little report on what she's doing. I know we all read the monthly report, and she works a lot with all of the educators here in Dunn County. And maybe Michelle, then you can update us a little bit on that. I have 445. It's 440.
Jim.
Tom, what's that?
You said we're live.
Yes, we're live. It's October 11th. I'll call the Community Resources and Tourism Committee meeting to order, 4:45 p.m. and let it show that committee members are here. We expect Jim Zahns to be joining us as soon as he can. And when he gets on, we'll hear from him. What was that? Okay. Call it. So the roll, let it be shown that committee members plus our county board chair, David Bartlett, is in attendance. And the other people that are here, we will be hearing from as we move along. Under public comments, right, we will ask for the approval of the minutes. You have September 13th, that is our last meeting, and the September 16th meeting. I only want to share with you what that is about. Michelle, we set up a meeting with Catherine. It was kind of what we call a meet and greet on September 16th, and it was from 10 to noon. And so we're asking for approval of our last month's meeting on September 13th and make it official for the September 16th. Do I hear a motion of approval?
I'll move.
Moved by Ann, Supervisor Vogel. Do I hear a second? Second by Supervisor Quinn. Thank you. Any discussion, anything? Welcome, Jim Zahns. Glad you can join us, Jim. I was just telling you about what you had to do. We're approving the minutes right now, and all in favor of the approval of the minutes, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The minutes are approved. Under public comment, I want to take a minute right here and introduce the other person you see on the screen right now, because I invited her to be here to hear what we were talking about regarding tourism here, rural tourism in Dunn County. And so it's a pleasure of mine to be able to introduce to you our new chamber executive director. Is that right, Tammy? I mean, tourism director. Is that the right title, Tammy?
I am the tourism manager.
Tourism manager. Thank you. Tammy Simon here, who has started her job, I think, a week ago or so, and will be working with the chamber on their tourism thing. I'm delighted to share with you. I've known Tammy quite a while. We even worked together a while on the fair board, didn't we? Tammy, right?
We did for many years.
And it was my pleasure. So Tammy, we will put you on, but today I wanted you to be here to hear our discussion and let everybody get to know you. I'm sure if you want to make just a few brief comments, I would allow you to do that at this time. Tammy, welcome.
Oh, thank you. I've only been on the job for a week, so I'm not really sure what to say yet. So I'm going to sit back and kind of absorb more information and see what I can glean from it. And hopefully I'll be able to add some quality conversation at another time.
We look forward to that, Tammy, and we know you'll do a great job. We look forward to working with you here while you represent the Chamber of Commerce and the rest of us, all of Dunn County. So welcome, Tammy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Moving on then with our extension report. Right away, we had Stephanie Hinson here, who we haven't heard from for a while. And if you read your September report, Stephanie indicated to us that she broke her wrist and couldn't write very much. But we read her September report. And as always, she's a busy woman. And now Michelle lets me know that she can't speak. She lost her voice, so she can't be here today. Breaks her arm and now or her wrist, and now she can't speak. But we'll have Stephanie on another time. So in lieu of that, I said, Michelle, you always write in here as well, and you represent all of our educators. You've read Michelle's letter of support. She's a support specialist and our secretary. And I'm happy, and as all are you are, to have her be our recording secretary. She does an excellent job. So Michelle, you want to briefly update us on your responsibilities at the Extension Office?
Sure thing. I'll just talk about a couple of things that are the big happenings right now. So the 4-H year wrapped up, and the new year rolled over in September. So we are getting the 4-H enrollments in. So my part of that process is controlling the database and approving each of these 4-H members as they come in. We currently are about 120 some, which is a third of what we had last year. So it takes a few months to get them all back in the system, but we'll get there by the end of the year, hopefully. And with the end of the 4-H year, we also have, they have awards that the youth apply for or they earn throughout the year. So I'm in charge of organizing the awards. They have certificates, plaques, discs, medallions. So I get that all together for the club, which is why I'm blurred because my entire desk back there is full of awards. So that's a big process, and those should be handed out tomorrow at the general leaders meeting. And then with agriculture, I've been working with Katie to start planning for pesticide applicator training. And that's not until January, February timeframe, but the past 2 years, it has not been held due to COVID. So we have 3 years worth of applicators that are due for recertification. So we're looking at 130 to 140 people instead of the normal 40. So trying to space that out, having multiple sessions to keep the numbers low so that we don't have too many people in one place at one time, as well as trying to figure out where we can be in the county to catch people from all around the county. So we currently have 5 of those booked, and looking to see if we might even have to do more than that. And then also Katie is working on planning the Western Wisconsin Ag Lenders Conference, which will be in January, and we're going hybrid this year. So a few people in person, a few people online, hopefully a lot online. And that will be first Thursday of January. So a lot of planning to kick off for that. And then kind of routine things for Stephanie and Sandy and Margaret and Addison right now.
Busy woman, Michelle, and we are so grateful that you are our recording secretary. And I will say right now that I know Tom Quinn and Jim Zons and others and Ann have written to me and said, about agenda. If you have anything you want on the agenda, please let me know. Usually Michelle and I do this on the Monday before our meeting, so we can send out the agenda so you get it either late Monday or Tuesday to have a weekend getting ready. And then I was gone Thursday and Friday this week, so I couldn't go back in and have a revised agenda. So I apologize for that. We'll discuss that more further. Michelle, thank you. You're the support staff for all of our educators here in Dunn County and for us. All right, Catherine, Emmanuel, Dave Bartlett has his hand up. County Board Chair Bartlett. Can't hear you, Dave. Can you hear him?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hit the button. Listening to Michelle's report reminded me of a couple of questions that I have been asked of me and I don't know the answers to. One has to do with the training for children or youth for driving tractors. It seems like there was one in Colfax last year, and if they missed that, this person said there's not another one until next year. Is that the way it works, or how does that work?
Right, I believe Katie hosted one this year, but it is something they could cross county lines for. So if they're not able to attend the Dunn one, they could try to attend in Eau Claire or other surrounding counties. But yeah, typically each educator hosts one of the.
So I could tell them to look at extension on the website under extension for other counties and see if there's anything available? Is that how they'd find that?
Yep, on our website, our calendar, it has an option to go to the state extension calendar.
Okay,
And then on there, you can select certain counties you want to look at. So you could get all of the surrounding counties all at once and check kind of the grouping of our area. Yep.
thank you. I will pass that information along to that person that asked me. The other question I have is something I've been wondering about. I've heard from the Fair Board that and maybe this is maybe for Larry, I don't know, but they've talked about that the meat animals aren't handled through 4-H anymore. Is that going to affect the attendance to 4-H? It's something I've wondered about and then I keep forgetting to ask.
It's a complicated question because the Meat Animal Project is not a 4-H group anymore. However, to show at the fair, they do need to be part of a youth organization.
Okay,
And I believe the bylaws of the Meat Animal Project still say that they need to be a 4-H or an FFA member.
sure. Yep. I knew that. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think maybe Catherine had more details on that.
Yeah, that was a question that I've thought of and I keep forgetting to ask. So thank you very much. That explains it.
Well, Dave, thank you. I forgot to ask, anybody else have any questions of Michelle? Good questions. All right, seeing none, then we'll move on to you, Catherine, for at this particular point in our agenda. And we'll hear from our area extension director. Catherine?
Thanks a lot. And you all are lucky that Michelle gave you a real answer. Normally, if I ask her a question, she tells me 41, no matter what. So she must be in a good mood. Just want to add on just a little piece of what Michelle shared about the quality meats and really do appreciate, oh, she just sent me a note. It's actually 42. I apologize, not 41. Just a little note about the quality meats. So I think traditionally it has been a 4-H program, but many of the quality meats programs across the state are choosing not to charter with 4-H. The reason is it gives them a little bit more autonomy. And I think some folks felt that it was easier, especially during COVID, to not have basically the university restrictions for meeting. And so they felt like it was just a lot more autonomy for quality meats groups that are independent of 4-H in the sense that they can follow their own protocols and they follow their own rules versus, the university having the standards for the financial money handling procedures and, the meeting regulations, et cetera. That being said, we totally expect that 4-H is still going to be a very strong partner with the Quality Meats program, whether they are chartered or not. So in Eau Claire County, they are not chartered. Dunn, they were and then are not. Chippewa County, they are currently chartered. I think that there is some interest in Chippewa and I know other counties across the state to go a little bit more independent. So I don't think it's really out of the ordinary. It's just kind of I think a point in time where a lot of quality meats are choosing a little bit more independence. And so we really try to support them and empower them on what decision makes the most sense. And then regardless of which path they choose, we continue to support our 4-Hers who participate in that. It's a wonderful, wonderful program for a lot of reasons. And then the other piece I was going to just piggyback on is the youth tractor safety inquiry. And that also often is taught in the extension departments. And there's also some entities who are starting to teach that as well. So for instance, in Eau Claire County, that has now been taken, I don't want to say taken over, that's not really the right phrase, but assumed responsibility by CVTC and their ag program. And so they just really had a nice setup there. And so, Dave, if you find that the availabilities are not meeting your person's needs, there might be some other options available, and feel free to reach out to Michelle. And then Michelle, if you want to volley, or Dave, you can email me directly, and I can certainly work to find out some other options for your participant that you may have in mind. So want to just thank you all. Many of you were able to make some or all of our Area 6 meeting, and I appreciate, I know you all just passed the minutes for that, and so I won't review that too much, other than you should have all of those materials. And I tried to attach the PowerPoint presentations, but it was such a large file that it would not let me send emails. So if you have specific reports or presentations from that day that you want individually, please feel free to let myself know or Michelle know, and we'll make sure that we get that to you. One of the big pieces I really wanted to spend some time talking about today was a conversation that we had between our last meeting and this meeting, really around broadband. And so at our meeting that we had back in September with our 3 counties, we heard from our Wisconsin broadband state specialist named Gail Hike. And she says, pronounce it like football, H-I-K-E, although her name is spelled H-U-Y-C-K-E, but Gail Hike. And Gail was really trying to help us contextualize, where does broadband fit in community development? It's not a nice and neat, tidy home that we have like a lot of other programs. But anyway, in the meantime, Chair Bartlett and your committee chair, Anderson, and county manager, Miller, and Addison Vang and myself met with Gail, I think it was just last week, and really just talked about what are the possibilities of Dunn County and working with the Extension Department around broadband. And I wanted to just give you all a brief synopsis of that meeting, and then also share an upcoming conference that Extension is hosting, and the information just came out today and it looks great. So in short, we really tried to scope out what do we think would be the best working relationship for utilizing the Extension Department with broadband. And where we settled was that the Extension Department would really be a resource for whoever the county decides to work with, or anybody in the county who may have a question on, hey, we want to look at writing a letter of support. Do you have templates for us? We're looking at certain policies. Can you bring out some examples? Just really any content question related to broadband, that Addison would serve as that educational resource hub. And if he doesn't have that answer, he certainly would work with our state specialist, Gail Hike, and or other colleagues across the state. The county also talked about, Mr. Miller talked about, trying to identify one person in the county that would be the contact. So it wouldn't be Addison or the Extension Department as the broadband kind of project manager, but however the county decides to organize around that management of broadband, then we would work hand in hand with that individual to provide just any content, any knowledge, any resources that we possibly could. So I'll pause right there because I know that you all are going to be working on this quite a bit, but I just wanted to pause there. And certainly Dave or Jim, you were there if you have any additional insights that you wanted to add, but I think it's important just to share about that conversation and share where we're headed.
Dave, any comments from you?
I guess at this point, the county is going to have to decide who would be our point person for broadband when it comes to writing letters and helping give information out. With the help of Addison supplying the information and resources that he will, but we need a point person. And I believe from our meeting, I don't think there was any decision made on who that would be. I think Mr. Miller was leaning towards maybe our zoning administrator, but that was just his suggestion at that time. And definitely there's been no decision made, so that's gonna have to probably come up between the two committees. I don't know which committee should take it up first. If this committee would have a different suggestion, then maybe it wouldn't go to PR&D at all. But if this committee would endorse Mr. Miller's suggestion, then I would guess it should be brought up at PR&D at least. But that's where we're at. We're going to have to decide who that point person is going to be. And I think that would be very beneficial to have one person be able to have all the information.
Thank you, Chairman Bartlett. I appreciate that. Just so everybody knows, Tom Quinn, our committee, is chairman of the PR&D, and I also serve on that committee. And Tom, we have not talked about that on my PR&D committee at all. And I know later, Tom has some thoughts and everything regarding West Central Wisconsin regional planning on some of the other events. So Tom, I know you have some comments, we'll be calling on you shortly. Is that okay, Tom?
Sure.
Catherine, anything else? Or questions of Catherine? Larry Bjork, yes, Larry.
Well, Jim, I can't speak to what changes have been made at the county fair as far as the meat animal projects, but I would hope that Extension would have their radar up that, some of the restrictions that the university has put on as far as travel, 4-H clubs travel, how they travel, where they meet, when they meet, seems to have to go through Extension, has to go through an Extension office and not just the clubs. And, when I hear information as far as the enrollment in 4-H in the county being down, it's concerning to me. And 4-H example, for example, in the 4-H and meat animals, if you're looking for new people to be part of it, or somebody that wants to show a sheep or a heifer or beef heifer or even a steer, it sure is nice to have that support of your local 4-H club of older members and general leaders that might be active in that. Where it is now, if you don't have family members that are showing beef and willing to maybe take your animal even to the state fair, you're just out of luck from what I can understand. And I just wish Extension would look at the requirements and the restrictions, I guess, that the university has put on the 4-H program since the changeover. Thanks.
Larry, thank you. Any other questions or comments from you, Catherine?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Sorry, I have something else to share, but I'll definitely defer to, it looks like Supervisor Quinn was about to speak, so I will.
Go ahead, Tom.
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay.
No, Catherine, I wasn't. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Bjork. I do appreciate that. And I know that before COVID, it was a big transition to move to UW-Madison. And I totally acknowledge and understand the frustrations, especially around meeting requirements. Those have definitely been updated as we've learned more about COVID, and it certainly has been a consistent policy across all program areas. So want to be clear that it wasn't just for 4-H, but really policy that was organization-wide due to COVID-related items. The last piece that I wanted to share is information that just came out today, and I will ask Michelle to get this out to you after your meeting is over this week. Likely tomorrow you'll see it. And Michelle, go ahead and share screen if you're able to. And this is a conference that has been put together by Extension around Wisconsin broadband. And so if you had a chance to meet with Gail Hike, she is the one who has helped to put all of this together. And so I want to just share this with you. It's a 3-hour conference. There is no cost for you to attend. And so that's super. And there's going to be kind of these 4 key highlights. So the importance of broadband with economic development, models for active networking. Just 1 second here. And and leadership development. So I'll give an example. When we were having our meeting last week, we were sharing with Gail, and I think Mr. Miller had gave an example of, could Addison help write a letter of support from the county? And the short answer is yes, we could help provide that content. However, have you thought about other types of letters of support, such as from the school district, from your local hospitals, and other folks? And so I don't think that has been part of the conversation, at least to my understanding. And it sounded like from last week, it hadn't been Dunn's approach. But Gail had examples of where other counties and communities had really leveraged multiple types of support to build that network for stronger broadband applications. And then there will be information around accessing and applying mapping, data and survey research techniques. And the last is about learning about available funding options. So you're going to have a lot of information available to you all. I'm really excited about that. You'll have for the funding broadband access, you'll have some examples from Kewaunee County, from Taylor County, as well as state and federal funding. Alyssa Kenny, who is a director of digital access with the PSC of Wisconsin. So should have a nice group of folks there. And again, we will get this information out to you. It just came out today, and you can attend virtually to this conference. So you are all welcome to attend. Thanks, Michelle. Any other questions or comments for me?
Could you go to that was the 16th?
Correct.
And what
16.
time does it start?
Yeah, 9 a.m. to 12.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And I can put that link here in the chat, and then Michelle will send it out to everybody, I think tomorrow.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to get registered.
Thank you. And I'm glad you brought that up about getting letters of support from other organizations. That really opened my eye. I hadn't thought about that at all. It always seems like it's just the municipalities that the Mosaic and 24/7 come to, or at least that's my understanding. That I jotted that down from when, you and Addison and that other lady were talking. So I think that's something we need to get a handle on and get a nice streamlined approach. So when somebody asks for a letter of support like Mosaic, we can go to whatever school districts are involved, whatever townships are involved besides just the county. So, and having a letter, a form letter or something set up as an example would make the municipalities and the school districts more apt to send something in. I think that's great. And I'm glad you brought that up so the committee knew about that or has heard about that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a really great suggestion, and just a nice example of working with somebody like Gail, who is a statewide specialist, and she can help feed that information to Addison, and Addison can go to her. And I know that he's already reached out to Gail too, and she's going to start putting together some example letters of support so Addison can be ready for that when that time comes.
Thank you, Catherine. And I'd like to add a little bit. what after Chairman Bartlett about school districts. I know that Colfax School District did add when Bloomer Telephone and Telegraph added on up there in that Colfax South toward Elk Mound, they did write a letter of support from the school in Colfax. I thank them. I'm not sure if Elk Mound School did because, as you know, the latest proposal is for Bloomer Telephone to go down through the Bloomer through the Elk Mound area. So, and I did some time ago talk to the superintendent here at Menominee, and he indicated that he was willing to write a letter. Now, I'm going to follow up on that again. But you're right, that's important, and they need to do that. And my experience has been they're willing to do that because those kids in a rural area need it as much as anybody right now. So good discussion, good point. Thank you. Anybody else have a question, Catherine? Like Tom, you had your hand up earlier.
Oh, I didn't mean to. Jim was a mistake. I have no
Okay.
question.
Thank you. We'll hear from you later. Catherine, anything else? Well, thank you very much. I will inform everybody that 4 of us, County Board Chair Bartlett, Jim Zahns on this committee, and Ron Score and I did attend the Wisconsin County's annual conference down La Crosse, and I went to one of the sessions, which was broadband, on Monday afternoon. And every county seems to be having and the same sort of concern, and well, at least the counties that we're talking that we have. And it kind of made me feel, well, we're not really way behind the 8 ball. We're broadband forward certified. We're telecommuter forward and certified, and a lot of counties haven't even done that. So it made me realize that we have done some things that are progressive and moving forward. It doesn't mean that we don't need to work harder, and we will. So thank you all. But when you go to a state convention, and there are only 4 of us, and we went to different, maybe Jim Zahns wants to report on that later too, or Dave Bartlett a little bit about anything that went on down there. I think it was a great conference, and when I went to broadband, and then I tried to get anything on economic development, but that can wait. Okay, Catherine, thank you. Anything further before we move on to tourism and broadband, but tourism at this point? If not, thank you, Catherine, and for that great report. And right now, then, while nothing's on the agenda for action, I guess that's my fault. I'm sorry. But I think after we need discussion, and that's what we're going to do right now. And so regarding where we're going regarding this rural tourism, and Jim Zahns is on right now, and he's done a lot of work with this right now. And so we had a lot of good discussion on this too while we were together down in La Crosse. And I know I've talked to Jim about this otherwise. So Jim, I'm glad you're able to get back from your colonoscopy. How are you feeling, Jim?
Like $1 million.
What? you're feeling what? Okay. Can everybody hear Jim all right? Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I'm not sure. Did you want me to talk about the prototype for the
Yes.
site?
Well, what? So that if we need to take action, and we do, we can't today, but let's have it all in line so this committee knows exactly what next month, when we intend to take action, we'll have a chance to hear about it, think about it more, and be ready to take action. So today, you're going to update us a little bit about the work you've done on rural tourism, and that's why I wanted Tammy Simon to hear this as well. So, yeah, start out with that, Jim.
Yeah, let's, and I'm assuming, Krista, I can share my screen during the meeting here.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I sent this out to all the committee members, but for those who didn't, and obviously for those who are not committee members, you wouldn't have seen this, but We're going ahead with a Visit Dunn County website that is going to have a strong tourism focus, but also economic development is going to be a component of it. And we're using your web choice to do the work on it. And Dave put together a mock-up. This is it's a still image, so it's not something you can click on to go and see it, but it kind of will give you an idea of what this can look like. So I'll pop this up on the screen so that you can see it. And this is kind of the concept. This would be like the first thing that people would be greeted with, but this would be a
Devil's
changing
Punch
image.
Bowl.
And this would be something that would change. And if people sat here for a little bit, this would go to a different Dunn County wide type of image. But you can see some kind of the proposed menu layout at this point would be a tab for events that would have like a calendar, things to do would have just that would have different categories of things that people can do in Dunn County. The idea to do like something with communities with just like even a list of some of the bigger villages and even like a township in the county. And if they have their own sites, we could link to those off of there. So that kind of gives a little spotlight to the communities in Dunn County. Industry would have some of the information about the businesses and things like that. Resources would have some of the information about just Dunn County, like economic development resources and that kind of thing. So that would be the plan for that. And then the ability right there to submit your event so that we have a place for people to submit an event for the calendar. And then just like a little blurb showing the just the current weather. Now, as people will scroll down into this, and, you know, read all about, we're all about Dunn County. If you got a business attraction or event to add, we want to hear from you, and a thing for them to contact the site and be able to, you know, send in information, photos, that type of thing. He's just kind of still working on what we would want for verbiage here. So there's just some Latin filler text here for this kind of stuff. And then some of these main menu categories would have just picture images and things to kind of to again reinforce some of these different categories on the site. Quality of life, abundance of play, again that quality of life issue that's going to stress what people that are thinking about locating their businesses or wanting to move to the area, having that aspect of thing. Dave just kind of mocked up like 3 fake events to show you how kind of events could be on here, and how maybe 3 of them would be featured, or 6, or however many you would have. And then his idea, which I thought was a pretty good one, was to encourage people to use their Instagram feeds to tag posts on Instagram with fun in Dunn. And if someone has the hashtag fun in Dunn, it'll automatically grab an image from their Instagram feed and kind of really keep this really visual. And again, these are just images, primarily Dave just kind of stuck in here for representation, which will kind of get into some of our image request action item that I'd like to have on next month's agenda. But this would be, Instagram feeds are real popular right now, and kind of having it be community featured would be a real cool way to do that, with also different ways to filter out some stuff so we don't get nasty stuff that gets out there. But this would be kind of a fun thing. And then just at the bottom, it would have the Visit Dunn County, and then just some contact information, which would just be an email address or form. But again, as far as like a first run through look at what this could look like, and kind of comparing it with other stuff that's out there, I like what I see. But I want, each of you guys to issue your own feedback as far as what you may want here for either different menu categories or different things you might want it to say. These will probably have drop downs for different subcategories, but these would be kind of some of the main ones. But this kind of just gives you the look and feel. And these are things like, for me as a web developer, the things I look for are something that grabs your attention, which obviously having, a big, bright photo first off is going to do that. Easy to navigate. It's really obvious from what these categories are up here, what these things are, all about, what you're going to find all there. Same thing with this. Also, having all this extra text here is really good for search. Having tagged images, good for search results. Again, a lot more text here. Again, really helpful for search results. Having a calendar of events ensures that there's always going to be some fresh content on here. But for the most part, a lot of this page itself won't have to be updated on a regular basis outside of maybe changing some of these main photos now and then, or even setting them up to kind of rotate in and out depending on the time of year and the weather, so that the Devil's Punch Bowl in the summer like this will display through much of the summer. And then there'll be fall images in the fall, and in the winter, there'll be some nice winter images that will automatically go in there. So hopefully won't require a whole lot of maintenance going forward. So that's kind of where we're at with it right now. And like I said, would like any feedback that you guys have as far as things you'd want to add or things that you might want to change, that kind of stuff. The other thing was kind of leading into the potential action item. What I'd like to see us do is solicit some photos and information from residents of Dunn County, and that could be done with Dunn County has its own Facebook page, and people could be encouraged to submit photos for use on this site, a chance to kind of get a little recognition and blow their own horn as far as that kind of stuff, and also could be something that would get potentially emailed out to even county employees when there's a countywide email that goes out. So that would be kind of an action item that I would like to see going forward, because some of these photos, like I said, he grabbed some of these just to kind of show what it could look like. But the goal is to have all of these would be photos that we would have permission to use, either that was granted permission or somebody else took it. And a chunk of these are photos that I've taken, and I just granted my own permission for them to be featured. Like that's the Devil's Punch Bowl is one of mine, and the Northern Lights photo is one of mine, and some of the other ones are. So, but that's kind of where it's at right now at this point. And we certainly welcome any feedback either during this meeting or some feedback that you want to submit via email. And I turn it back to Jim or anybody else who wants to chime in.
Okay, Jim. I like what I see. Thank you. This is great. But I'll hold my comments. Committee members, what say ye? What are your comments?
I've got two things, Jim.
Larry, Supervisor Bjork, yes.
Just do you request different the one it's not in English. Is that requested to be in Spanish, or I don't know what I'm looking at?
Latin text. What that you mean? This stuff here?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's called filler text. That's Dave didn't know what to put up there for just like verbiage yet. So
Okay.
it's just filler text until we have
Just filler.
something to fill it in. It's just
Okay.
it's just it's gobbledygook.
that I understand. As anyone that knows me would agree.
Okay, Larry, what's your next question?
I think asking for, any public pictures or whatever you would call them that you might, I'd say somebody would take a picture and, I'll keep using the Dunn County Fair. They had a really nice thing made for backdrop for the pictures. If, so-and-so had a picture of a winning animal at the fair, they could put that in there and come to next year's fair. We hope to see you there. Anything, that local residents could put a picture in there would be great, I think.
And it gives also the community some more ownership of it because
Right.
a lot of their stuff will be featured.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Larry. I want to hear from Ann. You have any comments, or Tom, or Dave?
Well, I have, I think it looks great. I love the big image at the front. I'm wondering, do we need like restaurants and places to stay? Because usually when you go to a tourist website, those are some things if we want them to stay here and eat here, do we need that kind of information?
Yeah, we can certainly put that as a category up here too. There's plenty of room to add more selections here. But this is just some thoughts that Dave had right off the top of his head as far as some main categories. But yeah, restaurants, places to stay, any of that stuff could be a main category, or could get rearranged up here. But yeah, that's the kind of feedback that I'm looking for that I can pass on to him.
I might send you the link to, I think it's Iowa City community, like tourism, which kind of is interesting. And it has like about the area. So you have your communities, perhaps it's about the area to get people to the different communities and maps and transportation and things like that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It'd be good, Ann. I agree. We got to hear from everybody because I'm hoping that all of you will either say it now or let Jim Zons know so that next meeting we can take action and start moving ahead yet this year. So now's the time. Let's hear it from everybody.
Jim, I have
Supervisor Quinn, Tom.
I think this is really terrific. It's better than I had hoped for. And I like everything about it. I like the submit your own event part of it, and the Instagram photographs, as Larry said, I think would really be good. And I think Ann's comment about the hotels and restaurants, if there's a way to do that that's not clunky, that would be good. That might even jog some potential support from the hotel group in town, the hotel motel group, because it would be serving their needs. I'm wondering, as I was thinking about events, I can think of several events or places that I go to, rural places that are kind of just on the county line, but not quite in Dunn County. I mean, have you thought about, is this like totally limited to Dunn County, or is it stuff that is there any kind of criteria, Jim, you thought about that, or is that pretty flexible?
As far as what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking of, like, I know that, for example, Prairie Farm has several events during the year that draw people from northern Dunn County, who live very close to them, that would be good to put in. I mean, they'd be appropriate for the events type thing. You know, they have some different celebrations and stuff that are kind of cool, but it's not really quite in Dunn County. It's maybe 5 miles north of Dunn County. Is that, I don't think it's a big deal, but is there a,
We set the criteria, so it's
yeah.
we
So
as
that's,
a group.
yeah, so
decide
I just
if
say,
if
think
we
that's
want to
something to think about.
include something that's just outside the outskirts because, because potentially then that's a draw to, northern Dunn County because they're
Right.
going to have to go through there to get to Prairie Farm, then, I don't have a problem with it, but it just, again, this is, we're in charge of this website. We decide
Yeah.
what goes on it and what doesn't at this point.
Okay.
Okay,
This is great
good.
stuff.
Good question. Thank you, Tom. I was thinking too of, the O'Galley Cheese Factory. That's in Pepin County. And yet O'Galley's in Dunn County. And you bring up a good point. We will certainly look into that. Okay, Ann, you had any more questions, Ann? That was a good comment. No? Larry, you mentioned the fair. Anything else? Supervisor Bartlett, I don't, what you have a comment on this?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments. I really like this. I looked at it when Jim sent it out, and I was very pleased with it. I thought it was great. Speaking to the businesses, I don't know if this would work, or maybe this is part of it. But if when it's made, if you go to the businesses, if there's subcategories for hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, places to eat, whatever, different kind of businesses in subcategories, or by region. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I think it's great. But that's just an idea. The other thing I was thinking is, you've talked about having this as an action item. It was voted on already, so I think going forward, if people are in agreement, like a thumbs up that it looks good, and to keep working on it, adding to it, I think I don't really know if you need another action item.
Well, the only
Or-
thing I wondered about with the action item was whether or not we needed an action item to make the request to have the Dunn County Facebook page solicit
Right.
photos and some content on our behalf, or if that is covered enough in this meeting that we don't have to have another
Well,
meeting to do that.
I think that's a different action than agreeing on that this looks good. That probably should be discussed with IT at first, and find out what our policy would be on that. I would suggest, and then probably bring that back. But as far as this website moving forward and keep working on it, I don't believe there needs to be an action item on that. And then I guess my last question, and this is, I'm sorry I'm so ignorant about this stuff, but you talked about the Instagram and being able to add photos, people add photos. Could you just explain how that works to me? Because I'm not on Instagram, and I just don't know anything about Instagram. So could you explain that to me, how that would work?
Well, basically how it would work is, I don't know, for those of you who have seen, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can do what's called a hashtag. You can tag something with something that has the pound sign and then a topic, and then somebody can search for that topic and see all the posts or images related to that. And you can do that on Instagram. So if someone posts a photo and it said fun and done, that photo would then be displayed on the feed. In other words, then Dunn County wouldn't have to necessarily have its own Instagram feed. Images would just be would be pulled up because somebody wanted them to appear because they had the Fun and Done tag. There, we would have to have some filters in place to make sure that somebody didn't tag something inappropriate as Fun and Done and have that appear in the feed. But there are all sorts of different filters that can be set into place so that that happens. But the idea is to have something like that that generates some fresh content and something especially visual like that, but does not require people to does not require staff in the county to maintain that as another thing on a regular basis.
Okay. I guess my concern was if somebody's putting something on there that probably the county wouldn't want on there, and trying to understand how that would work. So it sounds like you got it figured out. So I think it's great if somebody puts nice pictures like the fair or racing or hockey or whatever's going on, the Boyceville Pickle Festival or the Ridgeland Fair or whatever. But, you know, if we had something on there we didn't want on there, that would be bad. So that was my concern.
Yep, no, my top of my concern too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll make my comments. Thank you, Chairman Bartlett. We really do not have to take any action, Jim. We can move ahead with this. And I think Chairman Bartlett is right about this. We've really taken action, and you've given good direction to Jim Zahns. And remember, at the beginning of our meeting, I introduced Tammy Simon. I wanted her to hear this because she's working within the city. And we don't forget the city, nor will we forget what the villages are doing. You know, Colfax might have their own little program of promoting out there in Boyceville and Knapp and Elk Mound, and we're going to work with everybody here. But this would be the focus that everybody needs to know about. And so, Jim, we're all excited. And you've done a great job. I think committee right now is saying, let's go with it. We have approval. And now who's going to put the verbiage in under all of these, Jim, under all these titles?
Well, this can be, you know, if those of you on the committee have some thoughts as to the wording that you'd like to see here, by all means, send me an email for some of this stuff. Otherwise, I'll just work with Dave on it to come up with, you know, what we think is going to be best to do that.
Well, committee, now remember, what we're doing today is we've already given approval. You've seen what Jim Zahns has done. We're all excited about it. So let's give Jim a thumbs up, a huge thank you. We love it. And you move ahead. And what we will do then at our November, and then I would ask each one of you to be thinking about places out there that you know of in the rural areas. I can think of a few. There's been some things in Wisconsin Agriculturalist recently about this farmer up in Downing that raises prize and we know all kinds of places in Dunn County that we need to make sure is included in here. So as committee members, let's be the leaders here. Let's always make sure we're sharing with Jim and get this on our, we're all about Dunn County. And like Jim said, some of the things will be able to stay for a while, like the Devil's Punch Bowl. And then maybe, boy, in the wintertime, that's a beautiful scene with the ice on it and going down the Red Cedar Trail and the lighting and what's going on. And Tammy, you're listening. Remember, we're going to be working with you, and you're going to be working with us too on what we can do to include, and we're all in this together. The City of Menominee, Dunn County, and all of our communities, and let's make this great. Jim, thank you. Any closing comments from you, Jim, or things that we've left untouched?
Not that I can think of, just a kind of again, to send your feedback. That's a good suggestion about having the places to stay and restaurants as a potentially up here, depending on how we kind of rearrange that, but even some text where you want to hear. And if you yourselves have gone out and taken some photos of some interesting stuff, we can even use some real decent cell phone photos for this. Feel free to include those as well.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have you on every month, Jim, to update us and show us what's going on. We're all excited. And, maybe Tammy, I didn't give you any chance to talk today, but we will stay in touch with you so that those of you at the Menominee Chamber and all of us, that we aren't excluding or we're working together. We want you again to know that. Jim Zahn's great job. If
Thank
there
you.
isn't any further discussion, why you got approval. We're moving ahead. Outstanding. Just great. I'm excited about this. I did have down here too a broadband, and we've talked about this before. I got Tom Quinn wrote me. He's a member. He's on the board. Remember, at West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. He and another board member, Diane Morehouse, are Dunn County representatives on this board. And Tom, I hope you all had a chance to read what Tom said about how they're willing to work with us too. So, Tom, thank you for forwarding that. We've now got extension, and we've got West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. Chris Strait, who I think most of you know, has been working on broadband for many, many years with West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. Great amount of expertise. Tom Quinn, I'm going to call on you right now for some comments regarding your position with West Central Regional Planning.
Thanks, Jim. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, this came out of our last month's discussion where we were talking about steps forward, and one of the steps was to talk to extension. And I suggested that another step might be to talk to, regional planning, since they had done a lot of broadband resource work. And so I did reach out to them. And the note that I think I sent out an earlier note summarizing that discussion, and then I sent out another note. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
very
Michelle.
helpful. Yeah, I asked Michelle if she could share it because I can't. I'm embarrassed to admit. But so this is the note that I wrote for this meeting to kind of give the committee some background. Basically, it's not listed as a decision item today, so we can't take action, and that's fine. But what regional planning is offering is to pull together a half-day workshop, which has many of the elements of what Catherine described as the state summit, about the same length of time, but it would be either in person or a virtual meeting of key stakeholders in our county. And they've offered to help organize this, to provide the staff support for it. I'm sure they would work well with Addison if he's interested in if that would be helpful to him and his work. But the idea is to really provide some leadership from the county at pulling together key stakeholders, talking about what the situation is in the county, what some of the opportunities are, what some of the ways that we might move forward are, and some of them we talked about here. But it would be specific to Dunn County, and it would be a way for the people in Dunn County who are interested in moving this together forward to get together, to learn who each other are, to share ideas about how we might collaborate. basically make the process of planning where we go, how we go forward, more collaborative and more efficient than just sort of relying on ad hoc connections, especially since we don't necessarily have, at this point in time, a staff person who is tasked with helping us do that. Extension has been doing this in other counties. They've worked closely with Mosaic in writing their EDA grant for the expansion that's gone on up there. They just completed a plan for Clark County that they're sort of guides how the opportunities they might have in broadband. And they have funds from the Economic Development Administration to provide technical assistance to counties in the wake of the COVID crisis. And they would draw on these funds to provide their staff support for setting up this meeting and utilize many of the resources they've already put together. So I would argue that and I think the agenda that Chris provided there is a suggestion. I think probably there would be some things we could modify that would make it more, because of what we know now and didn't know when he wrote that, or what we know now that we'll know at the time of the workshop. But I would argue that it's a way to bring people together and start creating the elements of a plan. And I think I argued at the last meeting that I think in addition to just sort of deciding to go forward, it would be good if we had some broad agreement with key stakeholders in the community about what kind of a plan, what kind of opportunities we want to prioritize. And I think this sort of a workshop could provide us with a start in doing that. So that's my suggestion, and whatever we do is fine with me.
Well, Tom, I will say this is great. The committee, I'm going to ask for input. I'm just saying that, my thought right now, Tom, is that maybe you and I need to meet with Addison Bang and Chris Strait, or anybody on the committee. It doesn't have to be me. And those two people maybe need to chat. I'm sure, I don't know if Addison knows Chris Strait.
I'm sure they know each other. Yeah.
Do they know each other?
Well, they both worked on the Dunn County study, I think. So I think they do.
That's right. They did back when Addison was with Line of Water. You're right, Tom. Where does the committee? Thanks, Tom. Again, here we got all this good potential, and Tom provided it for us. Let me hear from you, members of the committee. Yes, Supervisor Vogel.
Tom, did you get any indication? So when they did this with Clark County, did they invite all of the internet service providers to kind of discuss, where the potential is and how the process should work about getting the support letters and things like that?
I believe so, Ann, and I would expect that would be one of the goals of this, would be to get as many of those at the table, which we haven't been able to do so far, and have some honest discussions about what your plans are. Whether they're willing to share that with each other, I don't know. But to the degree that that can be done, we would use this workshop to do that, right?
Yeah, so I think that'd be a great idea, in getting the school districts, or maybe even Stout, or all, because the schools need broadband just as much as,
Right.
So.
And I think also there probably are, as Chris points out, there probably are community advocates, people in our county that care deeply about this issue and want to put energy into it, but don't really know how to do that. So one of that could be we could identify some of them and pull them into the process.
Thank you, Ann. Great question. I appreciate that. Anybody else on the committee? Well, as I was listening to Tom, I was thinking, rather than, we've got some great information here, and I don't want it just to sit and get on the back shelf now and not have some action, and not start collecting dust. We've been talking about broadband for actually quite a few years. I remember Chris Strait way back quite a few years ago. He was in Dunn County and we were talking about it. And it appears to me now we're getting on a cutting edge. So I'm going to ask you, Ann and Tom, or any other members of this committee, but Ann and Tom, are you two willing to pursue this more with West, with maybe extension and with West Central? I call it West Central Wisconsin. Can I drop the Wisconsin, Tom? Is it just West Central Regional Planning?
Just call it regional planning.
Thank you. Okay, regional planning and extension, because we have two players, quite frankly, and we need to know that they are understanding of the roles and what our expectations are from them. Is that not correct, Tom?
Yeah, I think collaboration would be really important.
And what would you propose that we how we move ahead on this? Do we need to get?
I mean, I initially had hoped that we could sort of approve it at this meeting, but since we can't, I'm happy to be for temporarily be a point person to with regional planning, and if Ann or somebody else would like to join me in that, we could facilitate a conversation and be ready to come back. I think come back to the next meeting maybe with a more developed plan, so we wouldn't have to wait too long. Now I know that Chris thought that because they've done so much of this work, pulling together this kind of a workshop could be done on fairly short notice. And personally, I feel like that's true. And but still, we don't really have a lot of direct staff support to help them with. So I think starting with a conversation that would say, if it's okay with the committee, it would say the committee, if this is true, the committee thinks this agrees this is a good idea. We would like to engage collaboration from Extension because they have offered assistance, and we would like to begin initial planning with the idea that we would bring it up for formal approval or consideration of approval at our next meeting in November.
Do I see a nod of approval that we can do that? And then Jim or Tom would know pretty well as just kind of a flat yes. We now have made it formal with a motion on the floor next meeting. I think you're hearing from everybody, Tom, unless I'm reading everybody wrong that this, I'm sorry. Chairman Bartlett, you have a comment.
I really think this is a great idea. I think it emphasizes that I think it would be good to have whoever we decide is going to be the point person from Dunn County to be at that table also. I think that'd be very important. So I think it emphasizes that we need to get on that and have discussions, whether we want to take Mr. Miller's suggestion or not, but I think we need to have that discussion because it would be nice to try to have that person decide who that person's going to be so they could be at this table when this meeting comes about. I think it's great. It's like what that Gail and Addison talked about at the meeting we had, getting letters of support, that that's a big deal. Just being able to go to one source and be able to find out who to go to get letters of support if a certain ISP wants to go into an area. And I think this this is the information that Addison needs. I'm sure he'll take back a lot of information from this meeting like this, but I really think it'd be important to have whoever we decide is going to be the point person from the county to be involved in a meeting like this. I just think that would be very beneficial. So I think you need to probably talk about that and add it to the agenda and go from there, I guess.
Tom, well, you want to put together and help me with maybe the exact form of a motion that you feel you would need to move ahead on this at our next meeting? I think you can see that you've got full support from this committee.
Sure.
Thank you. And Ann, if you would be willing to work with that on this too. This committee, I'm getting more impressed with all of you all the time. Every one of you have a great deal of particular expertise, and you're bringing it to us and sharing it with us. And all I'm going to try to do is to keep us all working together. But that's great, every one of you. Well, Tom, thank you. The direction, you and I might chat sometime individually a little bit about your committee of as Chairman Bartlett said of where.
Let's do that.
Is
Let's
that
do
okay,
that.
Tom?
You
Yeah,
bet.
let's you and I'll chat about that. And we're not breaking open meeting law. We'll just chat about it opening. Very good. Moving ahead, and I have right now 6 o'clock. This has been an outstanding meeting. I will begin to close this right now. I want to thank each one of you for what you brought forward at this meeting. I think it's been a very productive meeting. We haven't necessarily made a lot of motions, but we certainly have got a long ways on our tourism. And I would add that, remember, we're talking rural tourism. There, years ago, the Dunn County EDC belonged to agritourism within the state. Now we are including agriculture, which is also tourism, but it's more than just agriculture. It's rural tourism. And we will be working with Tammy on this and with all of you. And again, I would say that outstanding meeting. Anything else that anybody has? Remember, our next meeting is November 8th. If you want a special action on that, let me know, or Michelle before the week before, Monday before, when we send out the agenda. And meanwhile, maybe we'll put Stephanie back in next month then so we can hear from her. Thank you, Tammy, for joining us. Jim Zahn's outstanding report. Tom Quinn, great. Ann Vogel for your good comments. And Larry Bjork, the new man on the Dunn County Fair Board. So congratulations there too. Any announcements that anybody wants to make? Hearing none, Chairman Bartlett, it's always a pleasure when you join us, and we appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.